Hello guys and welcome to today's edition of Michis Esport Diaries. Guys, today we're talking about the weekend, where I suddenly went winning some prize money. So, yeah, the Sim Formula Europe, a couple of you guys have asked for speaking about the event, and I think it's about time to do so. It is now 2 or 3 weeks by, and I think I'm well reflected enough to now speak about what has actually happened, what has it done with me, what were my expectations, and how huge was my surprise. And it was a huge surprise because I'm gonna take you back to the Friday when we were first at the venue. The day started with a couple of seminars, a couple of speeches, and interesting information around the sim racing business, the hardware business, the transmission between sim racing and real world racing. So there was a lot of information going on, a lot of things that we're very familiar with in the first place. But of course, for the people that were interested into sim racing, or generally speaking, interested people about motorsport and like seeing sim racing for the very first time, that was surely interesting insight, as in what is driving us, what is driving the sim races, what is legitimately giving the business a deeper sense rather than just gaming. And afterwards, it was like a 4-hour period where we possibly could qualify on the last garage, on the new sim racing game that has been programmed by Marcel Offermans and its team. And this game is not public yet, and it was a very special event, but I'm going to speak about that in a moment. Qualifying took place on Bridgerton, like some old historic track that I didn't even have an idea of, and on, I think, on an F170s F1 car from 1970. So yeah, historic cars and me is just like a very much know what to talk about here. Anyway, so you know, while the qualifying was going on, Jan and me, we was strolling around, giving that simulator a ride, giving the actor racer a ride, giving an F1 actor racer or like a moving chassis simulator a ride. And you know, we were just enjoying our times. I was actually getting this pullover, which is the reason why I'm wearing it, because it perfectly fits into the frame. And it was then that everyone was coming, Michi, have you already tried qualifying? And do you try and doing qualifying? And I was really like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And with full honesty, everyone I told is like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. I want to see how the sim is. And if I make it, cool. If I don't make it, cool as well, because I wasn't basically meant to be there to compete. I was there as my functionality with Yane, as he was coming in as the title defender, and I had some business to do on the venue, so that was my main reason why I was there. So here's the interesting thing. So qualifying took place on that F1 car on that historic track. The competition itself, though, was on a different car on a different track. No one really knew. So no one had access to the simulator before. No one knew the cars unless it was being told in that speech round where Marcel Offermans also had a gig. Literally, no one could prepare for this event. So it was really down to skill, adaptability, nerves, and how you deal with pressure. And last but not least, the overall ability to like fiddle out a car on the track, learn that real quick and adapt to it as quickly as possible. And that happened with the qualifying as well. So even though the people on the qualifying had an idea of what the sim's feeling like, what the rigs are feeling like and stuff, on a total different car with a total different track, on actual race day, which was on Saturday, was a total different story. So the idea of that competition was like, give it the most equal level playing field that you can find. So with the qualifying done on Friday, there was another group of qualifying for 4 hours on the Saturday morning. However, if you took part on Friday already and didn't make it, you couldn't go again on Saturday to keep the chances equal for everyone. And that was being carried into the main event. As we were going into the briefing, we were told everyone gets a 30-minute practice, 10-minute qualifying, then we go to the semis, and then we go to the lucky loser race, and then we go to the super finals. And during the practice, we were divided into groups of 8, so 16 drivers, first 8 doing practice and qualifying. The other guys, they had to go over in a different room, so they couldn't spectate of what was going on in the sim, so they could not get any benefit whatsoever. Of course, messages were exchanged between spectators and drivers, and like we were being told about lap times that are happening. That was for me in the later part, because I was on the first group, so I went first, and then the other guys came in, and then I got told like what are they doing, where am I sitting right now, and so on. And that was interesting in a way, because it, like, really, you put in a practice, then you put in a qualifying. I put fastest lap on my group, but it could have been something between P1 and P9 overall in the end. So that was the interesting part. You were sitting there 45 minutes, literally waiting for how much worth your qualifying lap was. And, you know, you're sitting there and it's like you're raising your focus, you're raising your concentration level. You're really getting into the game. You're doing the practice, you're doing the qualifying, then you cool down, and then you get into the semis and everything goes up again. And then if you make it through the semis, everything goes down, and you like have a break for an hour, hour and a half. Then there's the lucky losers race, and suddenly you're sitting in that finale, and you had to get going again. So that was another challenge on the event itself. So how did it go? Arguably, I've had a blistering qualifying lap, which put me really up on the edge with, I think, a 1:24.2. And I've only been beaten by Chinchik and Devin Browner. Devin, who was mighty fast. Like, if there's one thing Devin is known for me personally, besides being the pizza guy and besides being a Studio 397 dev, that his ability and his general feeling that he has for cars in the sim racing world is pretty insane. Like, putting him into some car and he'll go quick straight away. And that's the quality that he had, and this quality was one of the most important ones when it comes to that specific type of competition that we were running in. So as it stands, I think I finished third. That meant Marcel, who was best with a 24.0, he went into semi-final 1 on pole, and Devin, who was second, he went into semi-final 2 on the pole. And then I was third, which meant I get second to the semi-final 1s, and fourth get second to the semi-final 2, and so on. That was the way how the 2 semi-finals out of 8 cars were chosen. And then race went on. I was side by side with Marcel Chinchik into turn 1, and I don't know, something must have happened. I didn't feel a single hit on my car. But I saw Chinchik just exploding and retiring straight away. And that was me suddenly sitting in the lead. It was said afterwards that it was the tiniest of notch, not even worth noting as a race incident. But sadly, due to the way the collision model has worked on that occasion, he just exploded. And that was sad to see, but I couldn't really focus on it because I still had that 10-lap race where I needed to be in the top 3 to go to the super final straight away. And I had no one else than Nikodem Wisniewski behind me. As you know, top driver from Poland, now recently got into BS Plus, BS Competition. Mighty quick driver, but after a couple of laps I felt like, hang on a minute, it's not like that Nikodem is coming close and easily can go for a move. It's like, I do have the pace. I'm on his level. I can keep him at bay. And I just tried to finish that race, won it, which meant I want to be on the front row starting into the super final. And that was a bonus. That was like a big relief. I came in on qualifying on Friday, put in a very good lap time, P2 on the board. Colin Spork was flying fast in that qualifying car. He would have beaten my lap time by 6/10 or so. But nonetheless, my time was good enough for P2 anyway. And that got me into the event, and like I really approached it being like, you know what, whatever happens, happens. I'm in the semi-finals now. Everything that's coming from now on is bonus. And suddenly, I was qualified for the super finale, and be like, wow, at best I take 600 euros prize money with it. Even if I get 8th and dead last, even if something's happening, would be a sad story. And would still be great, you know? And then on the other hand, I had Janne, who came in as a title defender, had a bad semi-final. He needed to go to the lucky losers race. Hasn't really had a chance, had another incident. It was a combination of not getting really quickly fiddled in with the equipment. Like he said, he struggled a bit with the heavy hydraulic brake that were on those simulators. And on the other hand, there was I sitting suddenly in the super finale starting front row. And I tried not to think about it at all and just be like going to the race, trying to do as best as you can, trying to keep it clean with Devin in lap 1, like what you've remembered from the semi-final with Chinchik. Then I actually took the lead, but then Devin in lap 2, he was so much more confident on the brakes, put in a massive move, got P1, and I was like, cool, fine, I know Devin's quick anyway. Let Devin just go and focus on second place. And ironically, it was once again Nikita Wisniewski in third who was behind me, and I was like, dude, we've seen that in semi-finals. Just do exactly the same again and we'll be fine. And that's what we did, and somehow we ended up on that second place. To my surprise, I think also to a couple of spectators' surprise, no one really expected me on that podium. And me, myself, I did not expect me even into the super final at all. So I was also a bit lucky, because if you put yourself into qualifying in the front, and if you don't screw up, there's hardly anything that can go wrong if you just put in your pace in. We've seen it with Janne. Janne qualified in 10th, and then, you know, the struggle starts. So when you put in 10th, you start in P5 on the second semis, and then you need to make up 2 or 3 spots. So you need to put in the risk going into fights, having the chance of contact and exploding, which eventually happened to him too. And that was the overall story behind it. Like, I really had 2 or 3 really good moments, and other than that, just consistency, always knowing what to do. And it was an amazing experience, and it means, like, you know, winning 2,000 euros is a nice thing. But it means a lot to me in terms of, you've not just beaten some random ordinary people. We've beaten Janne, we've beaten Colin Sport, we've beaten Rudy van Buren, Bono House, Marcel Chinchik, sadly in not the way we wanted to beat him, Nikita Wisniewski, a couple of top-notch sim racers that are competing around the world on the highest levels of sim racing. And, you know, over the years when there's not so much esport going on, and I said that in the last episode of Michis Esport Diaries, where we were talking about the 2025 goals, it means a lot to me on a personal level, on a skill-based level, on an emotional level, where it's like, yeah, you still got everything it takes. You are still one of the best drivers out there that can compete in a top-class 16-people grid. And that really is the most that I take away from that journey. And it was a perfect weekend overall. I left early on Sunday in order to make it back home to the VMS Pro Series. And I was like, you know what? No matter how bad that race is going to be, I'm going to somehow end up in the top 10. So I took the train 12:20. I arrived at home 18:45-ish. 15 minutes to go. Took the bad Portimao setup from that Wednesday when everything went boom, and like people were like, Michi, you've been sort of mental complaining about everything on that stream. And I was so unhappy with the car. But I took that setup and applied a bit more wing, a bit less rake, a bit softer rear suspension, to just overcome that slidiness which was giving me a hard time in Portimao, put it in Sebring, mixed condition, super aggressive on the fuel strat, but somehow lucky enough to get from 5th to 3rd on the start, and then despite being 8 seconds down on the pit stops, jumping the leaders, and never got out of that position. And suddenly I've won that race. And like, I remember I came out of that room and be like, darling, I've no fucking idea what's going on, but I just fucking nailed it. And this sort of prove to yourself, you know, it might be one thing if all your spectators think you're so great anyway, you deserve this. Maybe some people think I deserve this. Maybe some people think I'm completely overrated. I don't care. But from a personal level, when you always try to stay grounded and be like, you're doing as good as you can with the resources that you have, and it is enough to compete up there and actually have a successful event. That in itself is like, I had some, like in Germany we call it so much good mood that people around you get annoyed of your good mood. That is what they're saying. It doesn't click to my mind right now. But this is how well it went. And this is how much self-confidence I took out of it. How much self-esteem that I'm carrying now into the year. Whether that will help me in a few weeks still or not is a different story. But it certainly marks a highlight already in the year. And that is how I perceive this SFE 2025 event. I'm massively thankful for the opportunity, and also, yeah, there is a bit pride of having done it, of really getting into it. But there was one important thing, and with that I'm coming to an end here. There was one important thing, as in how I treated this championship, which was like no pressure whatsoever. It's like, if we go into the qualifying, if we make it, cool. If we don't make it, cool as well. Doesn't matter if we can't compete. Everything from the semis is bonus. Now the bonus got really big, and obviously that makes me celebrating it so much. But even if I had only last place, taken 600 euros, or even not making it to the finals, okay, cool. Would have still been a great experience. And for those that are wondering about how did the last garage sim drive, we may be able to do a video about that based on the footage that we have in the future. It would just take too long now, and once again make the format explode. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the little personal insights from the event. Any comments, any questions, any feedback, put it down in the comments area below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.